Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and I like all things modular, so you can imagine how pleased I am that Out of Darts has graciously sent me their latest modular system. This is the Herja. It is a rail-mounted, fully automatic, magazine-fed half-dart blaster. And, well, that's just really, really cool. So, they were nice enough to send it to me in pieces, so I get to build it, which is cool, because I love building stuff. It took me a little while to figure out how it all goes together, but I think I can. We also, of course, have the hardware kit with all the bolts and screws and all of that. Again, hopefully I can figure out where everything goes. It should be... Should, he says, should be fairly self-explanatory. So, here we go. Right, it's done, it works. It's svelte, it's fabulous, and I'm gonna strap it to my FTL3, I'm gonna take it to the range, and we're gonna do some blinking. Let's do this. Right, I'm here on the range, and I have my Herja underslung on my FTL3. Now, you could just as easily side mount it. It's entirely up to you where you put it. I'll go into all the options when we get back to the shop, but I chose to put it here because it allows me to use it essentially like a foregrip, and it's actually quite lovely because I can activate it just using my thumb here. So if I'm holding it like a comfy foregrip, bring my thumb up to fire. Pretty nifty. So if I'm out here hunting zombies, and I'm out of ammunition, I can simply give it a burst. And the rate of fire is such that it's basically, with the short mag, it's a 10-round shotgun burst. If you were to, say, put one of the 22s in it, you could get more than one little burst out of it. That's lovely. Yeah, you can get a couple of little bursts out of it. High rate of fire, close range, fantastic. But there are some other options and or configurations. Let's go talk about them. Right, so for that, I had it underslung on my FTL3, which is a perfectly viable way to do it. It acted kind of like a foregrip, but it was a little bit awkwardly low. Now, the rail options, you've got Picatinny rail and the reverse Picatinny rail, they are completely interchangeable. They're simply mounting points on the top and both sides, and you can put those wherever you want, which will allow you to attach this in various different ways. I could have rail mounted it to the side here. I could have rail mounted it to the side all the way back here or up here. You could side rail mount it. You could top rail mount it. You could sideways underslung mount it. However you want to mount it, you can. They made it wonderfully modular in that regard. Now, one of the questions I'm sure people are going to ask, and I'm curious myself, could I mount this and my Jupiter, my modular proton pack Jupiter? Well, let's find out. So that goes right there, and that's how I'm able to activate it. Is there a way that I could mount this? If I tried to mount it here, it's almost certainly, well, actually, it might not get in the way. I wonder, where'd that... Woo! Dropping stuff. I can, and it doesn't actually get in the way. I wonder if I could, oh, I can almost, oh, that I can do. And from here, I can actually reach that. I can also reach it on the underside. Or just reach out. That does start to get a little awkward and cumbersome, but it is possible. So yes, I could in fact rail mount it along with my Jupiter. But more fun stuff to do with it would be to use it with the Jupiter. Because the Jupiter has a surprising amount of rail on it. It's got under rail and top rail, so I can actually mount it right there and now have a dart pistol attached to the underside of my rival proton pack fed pistol, which is just silly and fantastic and very compact. So again, if I wanted to, you know, do it that way, that would be an option. It's a fabulous and silly and wonderful system, and I appreciate it because it's exactly the sort of absurdity that I'm a huge fan of. Now, let's talk about some of the details. So the full build guide for this is over on Out of Darts' channel. I'll put the link down in the description along with where you can get this. They have can do a much better job than I ever could. But I'm going to talk about the features. So it's got an on switch on the front, and then you can activate it by pushing the buttons on either side. And it's single button to fire. It doesn't have a rev switch. Alternatively, you can plug this switch in the back, and it's also single button to fire, which has advantages and disadvantages. The advantages is it makes the wiring simple, it makes the configuration simple, and it makes operation simple. Push the button, darts come out. That's pretty neat. The downside is that there's no motor braking as a result. Now, if you did not wire the external one, you could put motor braking on the inside, but if you then plugged in the outer one, it would immediately short out your battery. So it's very ill-advised. There are ways you could get around that, but I wouldn't recommend any of them. I don't feel it's worth the risk. There may be a solution in the future, but I don't know for sure, or if it would ever come to be, so I don't want to go into it. But luckily, the Loki motors are able to keep up. Since they're using micro wheels and they're very high torque, they're able to spin up before the pusher can get that first dart in, especially if you go with a lower rate of fire pusher motor. I think I have the highest rate of fire option in here. And even then, it's able to keep up. It's able to get up to speed before the first dart goes, and then it's able to keep up with the high rate of fire. The downside of no motor braking on the pusher motor is that when you let go, the pusher motor goes a few more times before it actually slows. So the last couple of darts just kind of get weaker and weaker as the flywheels spin down. I haven't had any problems with it jamming yet, so that's good. But this really isn't designed for controlled burst. It's designed for mag dumps. You know, that's why I was using the 10 round, is it's just a burst. It's basically a 10 round flywheel powered shotgun. With the 22, you might end up dribbling a few if you don't end up dumping the whole mag in one big burst. But that's how it functions, and that's how I think it is designed, and it's lovely. This allows you to mount this somewhere else to be able to activate it. If you didn't want to use it like a foregrip, or if you had it mounted somewhere strange, you could then mount this to somewhere else using Velcro or something, and be able to activate it. You could even bring it all the way back here to the back grip and activate it. There's anywhere you wanted to mount this. That was the whole point of that. You could integrate it into an actual foregrip. Wow! There is that downside. You could integrate it into a foregrip like I did here, and hypothetically, if you added some rail down here, you could then turn it into a pistol. I'm definitely really tempted to do that. In fact, I'm almost certainly going to do that just for hilarity, but I actually found an easier way to do it, and that was by simply 3D printing this little gizmo. Took some measurements, threw it together in my slicer, and now, Herja woozy! I regret nothing. Yep, there it is in all of its absurdity, a Herja woozy looking thing. I've simply created a mounting bracket for that external trigger switch, and now it's right where you'd want it if you were going to use it as an independent blaster. It's obviously silly and awkward to reload. Well, actually, it's not terribly silly or awkward to reload. But yeah, the magazine is the grip, which is actually fairly comfortable because worker grips are kind of big. Anyway, that was my silly idea of how to easily turn it into a pistol. I think it would work even better if you just had some Picatinny rail here and had a grip similar to what I've done here, which I will do. I will probably, in fact, use one of these grips and do the exact same thing I did here. Just make it so that it plugs in using an XT30. And yeah, that's my plan. Luke, by all means, steal it, produce it, get it before I do. Ha 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 ha. I love this kind of stuff. It's fun, it's silly, it's really creative, and it has a lot of potential for improvements and potential for upgrades, and you could build an entire ecosystem around this modular concept, and I really like that. So I think it's cool. If you're looking for some kind of a rail attached gizmo for your blaster, the Herja from Out of Darts is an excellent option. So get yourself one. Ha ha ha! Because I can!